So when our firstborn girl was about 4 years old, she and I would take evening walks down the road, and inevitably she would ask me, "Papa, will you tell me a story?" Now, this request would come at the end of a day when I had spent with clients volleying ideas for their brands, their big projects, their books. And to come up with a brand new story on these evenings sometimes was kind of tough. So I'd begin something like, once there was a centipede named Lucy. Lucy loved being a tree climbing centipede, except she had super sensitive feet, which is kind of a problem if you're a centipede because, well, you have 100 sore feet. And then my mind would sort of draw a blank and I would say, and that's as far as I can go, which became a signal for my little girl to start her own story to me until she would say, and that's as far as I can go. So she and I started this spontaneous way of creating these serial stories on our walks, which it turns out is what I do with my clients. We're constantly bouncing off new ideas, new angles, new stories for their projects. And I am foremostly a proud papa of 2 girls and a partner and husband to a woman whom I respect and cherish. But almost every day I also am engaged with remarkable people doing exceptional work in the world. These are accomplished, smart professionals, creatives, entrepreneurs, founders of really worthy projects. And a few years ago, I kept noticing that many of them had similar blocks. After working hard for 10, 20, or more years, some of them were in big transition or in growing pains. They had reached a point where what they were doing and what they were projecting to the public were actually 2 different things. Maybe because their dreams and actions had outpaced their websites, or when people asked them, "What do you do?" they struggled for words because their growth had accelerated beyond an elevator pitch. Or possibly what was next on their horizon, their next act, had really not come into focus yet. And they felt frustrated because they thought they were doing something wrong. And these were smart, hard-working people with remarkable ideas and talents, but they were not gaining the exposure and traction, creative momentum, and clarity they deserved. And they knew they really needed something much more than a conventional marketing or business strategy. So I took some deep dives into the psychology of branding, and I combined that knowledge with my knowledge of storytelling, human motivation, problem solving, and innovation. And I came back with some fresh frameworks that brought tremendous results. They gained unparalleled clarity, not only about what they do, but why what they do matters in the times we live. They came away with confidence to engage their own communities and clients, not to manipulate, but to elevate. And they came away with the skill set to approach the online world and social media as a space not to sell more stuff, but to tell a story that matters for our times. And their clients and their growing communities responded in kind. So I designed a program experience to share these frameworks with even more people. ArtMark is for entrepreneurs, professionals, creatives who want to make work that makes a difference and who want to gain a return emotionally and financially. We combine the artist imagination and emotional intelligence necessary to distinguish a person in her field, necessary for innovation, with the business person's marketing and messaging skills. ArtMark combines the best of both worlds. This 4-month experience takes you through 2 distinct phases. First, you discover and shape your brand story. You bring your best traits forward to speak to the hearts and imaginations of people you want to engage. And then you create the branding framework for a website, crowdfunding venture, a project pitch, and other collateral. And second, you captivate and elevate your community. You develop story-aligned offers and experiences that deliver on your brand promise, and you learn to lead online and live with your brand ideal. Each week we work through our educational community portal and in our pod study groups, and we get on video conferences each week to hear each other, track our challenges, and bolster each other. And there are also options for private mentoring. And ArtMark is built on 4 truths. 1, story bonds us. We are wired for story. Story-based brands linger in people's hearts. They build stronger communities. They motivate founders to persist. And 2, branding is an accelerated path to personal growth. We work from the inside out. We bring forward your best talents and the authentic thread of your past experience and expertise. So in this way, branding and rebranding is a creative, authentic, meaningful, wildly effective path to greater influence and impact. 3, do it together beats do it yourself. I grew up in a generation that championed the rebel, the rugged individual, the punk rocker who sneered at every group. But after a while, the DIY trail gets lonely and frankly ineffective. But when you have a wild pack of genuine allies at your back, you can keep running with your ideas even when you inevitably face doubt and frustration. And 4, every big idea begets a series of challenges. When you approach branding and rebranding as a set of problems to track and solve, then you normalize instead of pathologize these challenges. And when you do it together, there's always a way through that challenge. A brand is not your website. Your brand is the total emotional resonance people have with you or your organization. A brand is not your logo. A brand is the promise of what life can be like with you or your organization. Your brand story makes you and your work relevant to our times. That's how you make your contribution to our culture. That's how you make your mark, your art mark, for greater influence and exponential impact. And Lucy the Caterpillar? Well, she ultimately rallied her spider friends to weave silk socks, 100 silk socks, in fact, to salve little Lucy's sore feet. The end.